and then it takes about 30, 40 seconds to put it live on Facebook. And it will enable people to ask you questions if they like. Okay?
Okay.
I'll let you know exactly when we're live.
Okay.
Okay. Chris, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm all right, man. Well, here we go, gang. Welcome to celebrating Greater Peoria area's rich basketball history. Youngsters these days need to do their homework. Well, we got another chapter. I got my brother from my hometown of Peoria and from Peoria High School, Chris Reynolds, the athletic director at Bradley University. How you doing, Chris?
Doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm out here in Arizona right now. It's 105 degrees, but it's cool inside.
All right.
All right. Well, hang on one second. I think I got a little bit of background noise here, but I think we can move forward. Okay. All right. Well, Chris, please take us back, man. Take us back to how you grew up in Peoria, in central part of Peoria, I believe, and who put the ball in your crib growing up? Who gave you the love for basketball that has taken you so far?
I don't remember who gave me a basketball to begin with, but my earliest memories of playing basketball were certainly before I shot the ball in the rim. My parents had this rule where you couldn't go out of the yard while they were at work. And so I was very young. And so to pass the time, we had a narrow sidewalk. I would just spend a lot of time and I wasn't trying to work on my ball handling, but just dribbling up and down the sidewalk with a basketball. And it's amazing, repetition and putting in the time. Before people talked about putting in the time, I was putting in time. And before you know it, when I became older and I would go to Laux Elementary School and play with my friends, I could handle the ball much better than young people my age. And I realized that and really didn't put it together that I was actually practicing when I wasn't really trying to practice. It was just putting in time to pass time.
Awesome. And when you played at Laux, who was your coach at Laux at that time?
A gentleman named Fred McAfee.
Fred McAfee.
He was our coach. And then there was a gentleman who came along a little bit later named Mike Holloway.
Okay.
And so those were my coaches, but Coach McAfee was my first coach in maybe third grade or so, up until maybe about the 8th grade. And then Coach Holloway came aboard.
Well, I tell you what, that Laux court is famous. It's been torn down now, but if anybody from back in the day ever played on that court, they will never forget it because your average went up when you played on that court. I went to Sterling. I couldn't wait to play on Laux court because you knew you was going to score at least an extra 5 to 8 points a game playing at Laux. What did you think of playing on that court at the time? Did you realize that it was that small at that time, or did you realize it later on when you look back like, man, that was a cracker box?
Yeah, you don't realize it when you're, 5'2", right? The court seems really big. But at the time, it just seemed like a regular basketball court. But obviously, when you go back later, you realize how small it actually was. But had some good memories there, and probably the best memories were the courts outside that we used to play on. And
Mhm.
so I would show up for school early just to play basketball with my friends, and we played during recess. And again, it wasn't to get better; it was just to have fun and pass the time. And so I really enjoyed my time there.
Did you play any other sports in your youth?
Yeah, I played baseball, played football. So I played different sports and enjoyed them all. And for me, it wasn't about getting better. It was just doing something I enjoyed doing at the time.
All right. Well, Laux, everybody knows, or at least used to know, that if you went to Laux, you were definitely going to be going to Central. And I went to Sterling, and everyone who went to Sterling more often than not went to Central High School. So when you were getting ready to go into Central, did Chuck Busher have his eye on you already when you were in eighth grade? Because sometimes you got to lock these players in so they don't go astray.
Yeah, I met him when I was in the eighth grade, and I knew he was the head varsity coach there.
Mhm.
But for whatever reason, I'm not sure why it was, but we must have played a game at Peoria High, or maybe I was there for an open gym or something like that in the eighth grade, and I met him for the first time there.
Okay. Well, if I can back up a little bit, do you remember any of your teammates in grade school you want to give a shout out to, or some of your rivals that you had in grade school? I'm
Yeah.
6 years older than you. I remember all of my grade school teammates, and I remember all my rivals in the Central Division in grade school.
Man, there were so many. The guys I played basketball with at recess, guys I would play against at Carver Center, Proctor Center. There was just so many guys. Some went to Ting High School or Ting Middle School. Some went to Roosevelt.
Hmm.
Some went to Lincoln. But there were so many guys, and I think because we played basketball outside on the playgrounds, you were able to meet a lot of different people from a lot of different places throughout Peoria. So um, it was just an enjoyable time in my life, in terms of basketball and bonding with friends but just having fun. And so I
Right.
think that's really what I go back to, whether it was playing video games, playing football, baseball, whatever we did, it was just about having fun.
Right. Well, when you get to Peoria High School on North Avenue, it becomes a little bit more serious because of the fact of the tradition that our high school has. 77 championship, third place in 1974, 1983 team got runner up. So the tradition is there, and the expectations of excellence are at Peoria High on North Avenue. So when you got to high school, your freshman year, you guys had a good nucleus of good ball players. Did it ever come to the point? Did you ever get that mindset like, man, by the time we seniors or juniors, we might be able to do something. We might be able to make something work.
Not at all. I mean, and maybe my teammates did, I'm not sure, but I never thought about that. For me, it was having fun. I mean, I enjoyed it, and I just enjoyed playing. And so, um, even winning and losing, I mean, obviously, I wanted to win, and we won a lot of games. But for me, it was just enjoying the moment and having fun and doing it with my
Hmm.
teammates. And to be frank, when I think about my life even now, the things I'm really good at are the things I just enjoy doing. It
Right.
really hasn't changed, because if you enjoy doing it, you'll do it a lot, you'll practice it, you'll get better at it. And so for me, going to practice was fun. The games were fun. Um, it was just an enjoyable time. And so it didn't feel like work. It didn't, there was no stress. Certainly you got anxious, you had butterflies before the game, but that's just a part of being human. But for me, it was just so much fun, and I didn't care if there were two people in gym or 2,000 people in the gym. Just to be able to go out there and compete was something I really enjoyed.
Well, yeah, and you guys competed well. When you got up to your junior year, you guys broke the string that Manual had, the stranglehold that Manual had on the mid-state conference. You know, it fluctuates up and whatever. Mid-state 10 when I was in school, then it became mid-state 9 and whatever. But your junior year, you guys knock off um, Manual from their throne of 6 years dominating the conference. But you guys beat them twice during the regular season, and you get to the sectional, and they beat you in the sectional championship, I believe. And that was your junior year. Your senior year, you got this great nucleus coming back, and you guys run the table. And it's yourself, it's Mike Hughes, uh, Mike Kirksey, Charles White, and I believe the person that rounded out the five was oh Lord, Tyrone Howard. I can't believe I didn't mention him already. The great Tyrone Howard, rest in peace. But I think during the course of the season, didn't you lose a player and Kirksey came in that year?
I think so. I can't recall, but you know, every period of a lifetime, there's always adversity,
Mm-hmm.
and there's always challenges. I'm sure there was probably challenges back then. And in basketball, what I find, or any sport, you know, here at Bradley, we have 15 sport programs. And regardless of the sport, the thing I like so much about sport, it just teaches you so much. It teaches you discipline, hard work, time management. You have teammates that sometimes come from different places, right? Different socioeconomic backgrounds, different ethnicities. So you learn to work together as a team with people that are different from you, which obviously is important in business and in life. And so sport just teaches you so much, you know, and one of the things you mentioned is adversity. You know, you learn how to go through moments. So in every game, regardless of the sport, there's moments in time where things aren't going well. And so many times a coach will call a timeout to kind of regroup. And the same is true in life, right? You're going to go through moments, you know, working on a job, and you just have to regroup. And so those are some of the things we talk to our student athletes here at Bradley about all the time, that this is a great training ground to prepare you for life after Bradley, because you're going to go through moments in time, but challenges are just temporary, and these things come to pass. And we do our best to teach them just to hang in there, don't give up, continue to believe in yourself, surround yourself with the right people, and you can move through it. But it's just part of the process.
Well, you've been through a lot of adversity, especially that season, separating your shoulder in the month of February. You're All-American guard. You've already got your ride to Indiana, and you guys are having this magical season. You separate your shoulder, and I would imagine that a lot of teams were salivating, thinking, oh, we got them now. But you guys still ran the table, and I think that you were able to come back, not at full strength, of course, but you worked your way back up, and you guys make it to state. So what was it like for you and your family? I know you have a very close relationship with your mom. What was it like when you guys won that super sectional? You finally get past Manual, and you guys win the super sectional, and now you're going to state.
Yeah, you know, with my mom, my dad, my sister, my extended family, it was a great time for us from that perspective, in the basketball team. And but at the same time, again, to me, sport is a microcosm of life. And what we teach our young people here at Bradley is you got to be able to handle success, just like you have to handle the adversity, right?
Right.
And I don't think there's enough teaching on how to handle success. And that's really important. You know, how do you handle the good times? Really defines who you are.
Right.
And many times how you are during the good times reveals your true self.
Wow. I like that.
And so it was a good time, but it was a time of growth for me. And I learned a great deal during that time. And so these are all lessons that really help you later in life. And what I find is that regardless of the challenge or the adversity that you or a person may go through, depending upon the circumstance, again, these challenges, they just come to make you into a better person down the road. And sometimes you don't understand why you're going through what you're going through or why you do what you do. But there's some things you just have to go through. And sometimes, like I always say, I like to learn vicariously. I like to learn through other people and
Right.
other people making a mistake. But sometimes you learn through your own mistakes. And certainly in a lifetime, you make a lot of mistakes. You make a lot of bad decisions. But certainly, um, I try to grow and learn as much as I can through observing other people and saying to myself, man, I do not want to do that,
Right.
because you see the consequence. Um, but you don't ever take anything back, or you don't ever wish it would have happened differently, because the challenging times for me have been the times of the greatest growth.
Okay.
And those are the times that really make and shape who you are, particularly depending upon how you handle it. And so um, I remember talking to Howard Nathan um, here at Bradley. He came up here and watched the TBT team. They were our alumni team. They were playing, and just had an opportunity to talk with him. And Howard was one of the best basketball players I've ever played against. And just being able to learn from his life, and him speaking to me about some of the challenges that he faced, and how he had to overcome some things. And I had him talk with my son who was with me. And those are moments in time, obviously, well after we both played. You just keep learning and growing. I mean, it's just phenomenal how that works. And then to be able to pass it on to the younger generation. To me, that's what it's really all about. Being able to take your life and being able to impart that to somebody else. And I mentioned Howard. He played for Manual, and we had some great battles on the court.
Right.
But then I can remember in my time here back in Peoria, after being gone for so long, oh man, Howard Nathan, we have great conversations,
Right.
and we talk about the good old days. And then I'm say, hey Howard, man, just talk to my son for a little bit. And man, those are the moments that make it all worth it. And those are the things I remember.
That is cool. Well, you signed with Indiana before your senior year, I think in November or during your senior year. And what was it like in your recruiting process? You're an All-American guard. From what I heard, your grades were very good in high school. So what other schools were recruiting you before you decided to go to play for legendary Bobby Knight?
To be candid, it felt like everybody was. When
Really?
you're being recruited, your phone is ringing all the time. And like most high school students, because young people like attention, you're saving all your letters, and
Right.
um, even schools you're not going to go to, just so you can tell people, look at all these letters I have.
Right.
But I ended up visiting Indiana, Duke, Michigan, Illinois. Those are the final four schools. I had a visit to Arizona that I canceled once I
Hmm.
decided I wasn't going to go there. But I was recruited by a lot of schools, and
What
the
was the
recruitment.
deciding factor for you to go to Indiana? Was it a great home visit or a great campus visit that weighed it? What did your parents have a big say so as to where you decided?
To be really candid, when I visited campus, it just felt like home,
Really?
right? And it's hard to really pinpoint one thing or another thing, but I just felt comfortable there. And I knew it was close enough where my family could drive if they wanted to visit.
Right.
But I just felt very comfortable there. I felt at home. And one of the things that Coach Knight talked with me about when he came to Peoria to visit, I'll never forget. He said, I can't guarantee you playing time. He said, but I'll guarantee that you receive an education.
Right.
And that did it for me,
Mhm.
because I was very realistic. Certainly, I had dreams and goals in basketball, like every other young person my age. But I was very realistic. Even as a 17-year-old, And I knew that, I'm 6'1", 165 pounds, and I needed to have a solid plan B.
Right.
And Coach Knight talked a lot about education and how far it can take you. And so I didn't put all my eggs in that one basketball basket, because I just sensed that education was going to be very important for me as I move forward.
That's awesome. Um, one thing I always tell people about recruiting and coaches, the coach that recruits you, you always hope that he's that same guy that when your career is over, the same guy that was recruiting you, pitching his university, pitching his program, the smiles, the dinners, and all of that. You hope that guy is the same person when you are leaving the school and no longer have eligibility. So for Bobby Knight, was he that type of guy?
He was, when I remember my first day on campus there in Bloomington. I walked into Assembly Hall. School was about to start. It was maybe a couple days before the first day of school, and I happened to walk by, and we didn't have practice or anything like that. I just happened to see him, and he had a book in his hand, and he said, I'm gonna loan you this book." He said, I just finished reading it, and what really impressed me about that short interchange, and was really the first conversation we had that didn't involve basketball, was that he believed in me as a student. Like, how many coaches, whether it's grade school, high school, or college, goes up to a young man who they really they really don't know, right? So up to that point, I'm a high school student before I arrived in Bloomington for that first week of class. And so all our conversations were about basketball. And my recruitment with Indiana, it wasn't a long recruitment. And so I talked to him maybe a handful of times on the phone. So I really didn't know him, and he really didn't know me. But my first encounter with him on campus, he gives me a book, and he said, "Man, and it was a 800 or 900 page book by a guy named Tom Clancy. I think that book was called The Sum of All Fears."
Mm-hmm.
And he's written a lot of books, The Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, and things of that nature. But it really impressed me that my college basketball coach thought enough of me to give me an 800 to 900 page book, and felt that this is a young man that would enjoy reading this book. And the conversation wasn't about basketball. And he saw me as a young man capable of learning. And that really had an impression upon me, and really laid a great foundation for our relationship, because our relationship was always that.
Right.
It was about using education as a tool to help you move forward in life. And from the day one, that's what he was about. And he was the first one to really talk with me seriously about going to law school, and really encouraged me to do it. And so when I think about my time in Indiana and Coach Knight, that's what I think about. The encouragement he gave me, the confidence he gave me in myself academically. He believed in me. And you hear it all the time. It's somewhat of a trite phrase, but you hear people say that, so and so gave me the greatest gift they could ever give to anybody. They believed in me, right?
Right.
And Coach Knight believed in me. And so you just feel like you're 10 foot tall, right? And 10 feet tall. And so he did that for us. And what it does, Boo, it gives you a sense of confidence.
Right.
And I talk to my son Joshua about that all the time, that 90% of this is just believing in you and having confidence that you can do it.
Right on.
And the important thing is to, particularly at an early age, surround yourself with people that believe in you and people that will support you, until you get to the place where you believe in yourself.
Right.
And so that's what my time in college, if I could just summarize it, it was that. And certainly Coach Bisher at Peoria High was a great part of that as well. He believed in me. His wife, Mrs. Bisher, believed in me. And so just being, obviously you're going to have your family, I mean, they're going to love you regardless, right? Mom, dad, cousins, nephews, nieces, whoever. But when you have people that you really don't know, but they get to know you and they provide you that support, that encouragement away from your family, it really means a lot. And it's really important. And so what I try to do, Boo, here on the hilltop, you know, we have over 200 student athletes. And I try to do the same thing for them, you know, pay it forward because I know what it did for me.
Right.
Right.
Right on.
And continuous education. Right. And so even after my time playing basketball and going to school in Indiana, going on to law school, and then going to the NCAA as an intern, going to Michigan State, my first full-time job, going to Western Michigan University for 3 years, then going to University of Notre Dame, working there for 3 years, had the opportunity
with my guy.
And then had
Kevin White.
Yes, Kevin White, the AD hired me there, who's still a tremendous friend, the AD at Duke right now, and one of my heroes in the business and a great friend of mine. But had the opportunity to go back to Indiana. And when I was back there, I was 30 something years old, Boo, and I enrolled in the PhD program. And here I am in my mid 30s. And because that desire and hunger for education and learning was just etched in me as an undergraduate student at Indiana by Coach Nye and by a lady who you won't know, but her name is Vicki Roberts. She was one of my tutors who just encouraged me academically. That love for education just it never stopped. And so having the opportunity to go through the PhD program while I was working full time, while I had, married with 2 children, and just figuring out a way to get that thing done, by the grace of God, and just grateful that I understood as a young man that education is the gift that keeps on giving. It just is. And so just really fortunate to be connected with the people that I've been connected with along this journey. Starting with Fred McAfee, right? All the way through up Coach Bisher, Vicki Roberts, so many people, Kevin White, so many people that have had a hand in this. And so it takes a village, as they say, right?
Absolutely.
And certainly, mom and dad, and my sister Nicole. And so just so many people that have been a part of it, aunts and uncles and just cousins I used to play with. I remember growing up here in Peoria, my dad would take me down to near the corner of Western and Millman. I had cousins that lived down there, and they take me around the Proctor Center. And what was amazing about those games at Proctor, I'm a freshman, sophomore, junior in high school, and the competition was so good, I couldn't even get on the court, right? And but that's where you learn, and just being surrounded with good people that looked after you, that took care of you. People like Dana Davis. Remember Dana?
Absolutely.
I mean,
double,
just people,
double D.
Double D. Bradley graduate.
Yeah.
But he gave me a job during the summers. And so just people that looked after you, that made sure that you had your head on straight, that work was a part of what you did, that made sure that you were going in the right direction. It takes everybody.
Right. Well, when at your time at Indiana, who was like your roommate? I know you played with some great players, and you won a couple Big Ten championships. I think your senior year, you guys were ranked #1. Was there somebody that you had as a roommate all 4 years that you still keep? Are there teammates from back in the day that you still keep in touch with? Did you come in with Calbert Chaney? Did you guys come in as freshmen together?
Yeah, so I met Calvert for the first time when I visited Indiana as a high school student at Peoria High, and he happened to take his visit on the same weekend, and he was considering Indiana, and he may have already committed, and I had not yet.
Right.
And so because we were able to get to know each other a little bit during the visit, we decided to be roommates. And
Okay.
so Calvert and I, we were roommates all 4 years.
Oh, you know what? I did not know that. I just threw that out there.
Yeah, he was my
So,
roommate and one of my, closest friends, and to this day. And I remember freshman year. Certainly, I don't take any credit for it, nor would I, nor have I ever. But I remember freshman year, we stayed in the dorm in Reed Hall on the campus of Bloomington, Indiana, and Calvert wasn't as highly as recruited as I was.
really?
But
Wow.
obviously he was talented, but
Hmm.
he was a late bloomer, and he was injured a lot during his senior year, so he didn't play much. So not a whole lot of people heard about him. And I remember we started playing the first couple games. I'm like, Calvert, like they can't guard you, man. And he didn't even know how good he was.
Really?
And it took him a few games to realize, you know what, I can actually do this at a high level. And certainly, he won the Wooden Award his senior year as the college basketball player of the year. But that was just an amazing time in my life to see his development
Right.
and to see our friendship grow. And like I said, we're still close friends to this day. And I mean, I love Calvert. He's just a trick. He was a great basketball player, but even a better person.
That is awesome. You graduated in 94 from Indiana and
93.
93, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But in 94, you had a chance to be in playing a cameo basically in one of the greatest sports movies, if not one of the top basketball movies of all time, Blue Chips, with Nick Nolte and Bob Cousy, Larry Bird. Your coach was in the movie, a bunch of your teammates, Penny Hardaway, Shaq. What was that experience like being in that movie? And you're just coming out of college at that time and being in this huge production. What was that like, that experience?
It's interesting. You didn't even know it was a huge production at the time. It was almost like what I described in terms of playing basketball as a young man growing up. I was just having fun. I was just enjoying it.
Right.
Um, and so we had played against Shaq. Indiana played LSU, and so we were
Right.
familiar with him. Certainly, I didn't know Penny at all, but a lot of the guys in the movie I already knew.
Right.
Bobby Hurley played. There was a player from Michigan. I forget his name, but a lot of the talent. There was a player that played at UCLA who was one of the stars in the movie. But we knew each other, and so it was
Right.
fun. And the footage that they took for the movie, we actually played real games,
It
and
looked
so
real.
it was
The
very real.
basketball scenes looked
Yes,
like they just said, "Hey, play ball."
yes, and so it was playing ball,
Right.
and so it was great fun, great competition because the play was high level, and if you couldn't ball, you didn't need to be on the court, and so it was fun playing against Penny Hardaway.
Right.
The young people don't remember him. They know him as the coach at Memphis where he played, but Penny Hardaway was a special basketball player. He
Absolutely.
was special,
Absolutely.
and so to have the opportunity to play against him in his prime was a great honor. And then obviously Shaq back in his prime, he was amazing, and so it was a lot of fun, something we really enjoyed. Had no idea. I mean, sometimes you turn on the TV on the weekend and Blue Chips is still playing, right? And you
Right.
had no idea that it would be a movie of this magnitude at the time because it was just something to do on a weekend, right? And so we had a lot of fun doing that.
Do you still get those residual checks for like $4.99 a
No,
year?
we don't. No,
No.
no, we actually we donated the dollars that we would have received from being in the movie to the library, to the IU library. So the IU players, we donated what we would have received to the IU library. And so for us, it was just an opportunity to have some fun and then be able to give something back.
That's awesome. Well, you have a chance now. The athletic director's position opens up at Bradley University in your hometown, because like you, I grew up watching Bradley basketball, and I think you know my father Curley Sr. was one of Bradley's first black players, along with Shelly McMillan. I used to be the ball boy in the '70s. Love Bradley basketball. Bradley basketball is Peoria. With that being said, when that job opened up for you, was it something like, man, this is a great job, but I get to come back home? Was it, how did you feel? Did you jump at, obviously you jumped at the opportunity, but what did you think when that opened up? What was your mindset?
Well, as a person who worked at Notre Dame, worked at Indiana, worked at
Right.
Michigan State, worked at Northwestern, I feel like I've been there and done it, right? And I've seen a lot, but to be able to come back home, that was special. And I remember when I was first asked about the opportunity that opened up here at Bradley and what I thought about it, I just said that would be really special.
Right.
And to be able to um, go into a department and create a culture, make it your own, and to be able to impact the lives of over 200 student athletes is something that I felt was a part of my purpose in life. I really did, and I still do
Wow.
to this day. To
Wow.
be able to take a life and to be able to impact that life is something that I really feel driven to do. And when I was able to get into this profession in my early 20s, that was the motivating desire. That was the driving force. I wanted to get involved in something that involved young people. And I didn't really want to coach. You know, I think to coach, it's got to be in you. It's got to be something that you just feel driven and led to do. And I never
Right.
really felt that, but I did feel led to be an administrator. And so that's what I pursued. And so for me, this is part of my purpose, to be able to positively affect young people. And what I say here at Bradley all the time is that it's our goal to help develop the leaders of tomorrow. And I believe in that sincerely. And when these prospective student athletes across all of our 15 sports, when they visit campus, I have an opportunity to meet with parents and the young recruits. I talk with them about the program that we have to help develop them
Mm-hmm.
into leaders, and how this is just a springboard into them being able to do great things once they leave the hilltop. And we do things in the community, such as we do a lot of community service. You know, before COVID, we were doing annually over 3,000 hours of community service as an athletics department. And so, as I tell our student athletes and coaches, we're going to get off the hilltop and into the community and give back.
Right.
And what's special for me, Boo, is that we're giving back. We're giving back in my hometown.
Right.
Right. And so
Right.
these young people become an extension of me being able to reach out into the community and impact young people and families. And I feel a part of that in my hometown. And so that's very exciting. And then also what's interesting is since I've been back here, I've been back for 6 years now, I'm able to meet people
Wow.
in the community who I know, right? People who knew me as a very young child, and be able to connect with those individuals, and they know my story, and some of the people I met when I was growing up, and to be able to encounter them to this day is really neat. And everybody can't go back home, right?
Right.
And do the things that I'm able to do, and I don't take that for granted. To
Right
be able
on.
to, you know, have a reputation, have your integrity intact, to be perceived in such a way where people respect you and people
Mhm.
feel confident in your leadership. Um, for me, that means a lot. It does. Because nobody knows you like the people that know you, right?
Right on.
And so to be able to come back here and be able to do this effectively, to me, is really important. And we, as we were talking a couple of days ago, I don't like this rarely do I talk about my past. And so this is the most I've talked about my past in 6 years since I've been back in Peoria. And the reason why that is, and I didn't tell you the why, is because it's not healthy for me to look back. And what I mean by that is, even during my time, whether it was at Peoria High or even at Indiana, if you start thinking too much about your press clippings and how great you were, it becomes a distraction. And it hinders you from keeping that hunger for trying to pursue what's next and keeping your eye on the ball.
Wow.
And so I challenge myself every single morning to be hungry, to never be satisfied, right? You've reached your goal, well, let's go find the next goal.
Right on.
Right? But if I spend too much time reminiscing, then I'll start to feel like I've arrived and I've achieved, right?
Right.
And I don't have to continue to pursue more.
Right.
And what motivates me to continue to pursue more, and I mean this sincerely, Boo, there's a young Chris Reynolds out there, right? He might be 10 years old, right? There might be a young lady out there, she might be 10 years old, that just like a Fred McAfee or Mike Holloway spoke into my life. There's somebody in that community that needs to hear from me, right?
Right on.
Or there's a student athlete who maybe they need a book loaned to them, right? Just like Coach Knight loaned a book to me.
Right.
And so I got to focus on what's next. I got to focus on how can I help somebody right now? Because even though I'm still relatively a young man, I realize you only get so many moments. You know, you only get so much time. And so I got to maximize the time that I have right now. I remember I was watching television years ago and I heard a poem, and I haven't recited out loud in a long, long time, but I've never forgotten it. And it was a college president, and he penned the words to the poem called Life is Just a Minute. And it says, life is just a minute, only 60 seconds in it. Forced upon you, can't refuse it, didn't seek it, didn't choose it, but it's up to you to use it. You will suffer if you lose it, give an account if you abuse it. Just a tiny little minute, but eternity is in it. And I remember hearing that poem, and I'm like, you know what? Life is just a minute, man.
Wow.
And the thing about time, Boo, it's one of the few things that you can't get back. You can't get another one.
Time waits for no one, like they say.
I mean, when this moment in time passes, you can't get it back. You can't buy it back, right? You can't, there's nothing you can do. It's gone. And so all you have is the now. And so what I've done to the best of my ability is just focus on the now, not focus on yesterday, not be concerned about tomorrow, but what can I do right now? Because that's all I can control. And it just helps me to just stay focused and locked in on what I'm doing. And I feel this great responsibility here at Bradley, which I completely own and I embrace, because as I mentioned again, there's a community full of people that, you know, knew me as I was growing up. And so you feel a responsibility, and it's not a burden. It's just a responsibility that I want to do the best I possibly can, so that people can look at Bradley Athletics with a sense of pride and feel good about what we're doing. And so to me, that's a holistic approach. It's what we do competitively, it's what we do academically, and it's what we do in the community. And so I mentioned the 3,000 hours annually that we are doing pre-COVID. I mean, I really feel good about that. Our student athletes are out there, and not only are they benefiting the community, but when they're out there volunteering time, they're helping themselves. We want our student athletes to see that, you know what, you think you have it tough? There's some people out there that have it tough.
Oh yeah.
It gives them a sense of perspective. One of the things that I'm really proud of, Boo, my first 5 years here, I've been here 6, my first 5 years, 3 of those years, we won the Missouri Valley Conference All Academic Award. And we won it 6 years ago, so the first time ever, for having the highest GPA amongst all the schools in the conference.
All right.
And so I'm a big believer, because I experienced it, we can compete at a high level athletically, but we can also do well in the classroom. You don't have to do one for the other, right? You can actually do both. And so very proud of that, because these are student athletes, right? And the student comes first. And so we want them to pursue academic achievement. That's really important. And so it's about creating leaders. It's about developing leaders. It's about telling your story. You know, they need to hear about my successes, but they also need to hear when I messed up.
Right on.
Right. And how I recovered from that, because they're going to mess up too. Right. Because we're all human beings.
That's right.
But me telling them, you know what, you can recover from that. Right. Get back up and let's keep going. You throw the ball out of bounds, you know, you can learn from that. Right. You strike out 3 times in a game, keep your head up, man. We'll get the next game. Right.
Right.
And so teaching them how to get up from failure is really important. And I think a lot of times why businesses like to hire student athletes is student athletes, they learn how to get up from failure.
The resiliency.
They've lost a couple games, right?
Right.
And they had to get back up and get ready for the next game. And so that's what we strive to teach. And so it's so rewarding to be able to do it. There's nothing like graduation. We have graduation coming up here in a couple of days here at Bradley. And you bump into a young man or a young woman, and it just never gets old. They'll come up to me, Dr. Reynolds, just want to thank you for everything you did for me. And I mean, that never gets old. And I tell these young people when they come in here, you don't owe me anything, but what I do ask you to do is when you graduate from Bradley, to not forget about us.
Right.
And take the things you learned while you were here, apply them to your life. That's all the thank you I need. And again, all I'm doing is just paying it forward. You know, all the things that have been instilled within me have been from other people, and people that believed in me, people that didn't give up on me. When I got knocked down by life, they picked me up and they said, you know what, it's going to be okay. And so that's what I remember. Again, I don't remember a lot of successes, but I remember when I fell down, and I remember the people who picked me up. And that's why I'm able to have this conversation with you today.
Well, I tell you what, man, I'm proud of you. I'm class 82, you're class 89. So I'm six plus years older than you. And I went to a Bradley game 2 years ago. And when you saw me, you treated me with so much respect. You took me through the world tour of going around meeting other alumni that knew my dad. You introduced me to Andrea Gorski. I'd never met her, which I was ashamed of. That I never got to
meet. Basketball coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember telling you, and I don't know if you remember this, that when you got the job at Bradley, Kirk Wessler, who was with the Journal-Star at the time, called me up and he asked me the significance of you being the first Black athletic director. He knows that my dad went there and that history and my history as a ball boy and the pride I have for Bradley. But he asked me the significance of you being the first Black athletic director at Bradley University. And I told him these words. I said, Chris Reynolds was the best man for the job who happens to be Black. He's the best man for the job who happens to be Black. And you're proving it every day that you were the best man for the job. And as far as I'm concerned, they're lucky to have you. Now, the first time I met you was 1988, 89. I think it might have been 88, fall of 88 of your senior year. I was in town for a wedding. Mark Grace was marrying a Peoria girl named Michelle Messer. And I was invited to the wedding. But while I was in town, I'm like, okay, I can't be drinking and having fun and all that. I got to stay in shape. I got to go on tour with the Trotters. So I went up to my high school to get a run, and you guarded me. Me and a couple guys played against you guys, and you guarded me, and it was like I had to beat you off of me. You were that relentless as a defensive player. I was like, man, somebody need to tell this young boy who I am, but I never forgot that the tenaciousness that you had, that what they call that dog. You didn't give a damn that I played for the Harlem Globetrotters. You went after me like I had stole the Thanksgiving turkey off your mother's table. And I never forgot that. And it seems to me that that drive and that determination is what propelled you into being Dr. Chris Reynolds today. So I'm proud of you, brother. You're younger than me, so I can say that.
No, I appreciate you. And I stand on the shoulders of people like you who went before me, who lifted me up, who encouraged me, who believed in me, people like yourself and so many other people. And that's why I'm spending this time with you today. I'll never forget people like you. And like I said, so many others in this community that took a chance on a young man named Chris Reynolds from the time I was in the 3rd grade. And so that's why being back in this community is something that is very meaningful to me. I don't take it for granted every single day. I'm pinching myself, just thankful for the opportunity I have, because I know these things don't come around for people all the time. To have the life that I've lived has been tremendous. If I could have drew it up, 30, 40 years ago, I would have just said, no way, right?
Right.
To have the experiences I've had has been truly amazing. And so, man, when you talked about when you came to the Bradley game, how I treated you, because I want to show respect and honor, for the people that came before us, for the people that came to Bradley. Your dad came to Bradley, just the respect. When you talked about your dad and him being here at Bradley, and I know you went to Loris, but man, you talked about your dad. Well, man, I got to show you respect. I have to do that because of your dad and because of the things you've done. And
right.
So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to extend that because I know how much that means to people like you.
Oh yeah.
Right. You don't forget it. And
right.
And one of the things that I feel has really helped me, and you've heard this a million times, but it's something that I hold near and dear to my heart when I talk with our coaches, our student athletes, our staff, people on campus. I'm Chris Reynolds with a law degree and a PhD, went to Indiana, worked at different places, Notre Dame, Michigan State, Northwestern, yada, 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 went to Peoria High. But people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. They just don't, right? They don't.
Wow.
And so I understand that. And so just trying to be as genuine as I can be, because I've been on both sides of this thing. I've been on the mountaintop, but I know what it's like to be in the valley, right?
Yeah.
And you realize that at the end of the day, you need people. And relationships are very important. And that name that you carry is very important. And the name of the school you represent is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to treat all these things and the people you meet with the utmost respect. And so as much as I can, I try to do that as consistently as I can every single day of my life.
That's awesome. That is awesome, brother. Before you go, you're a busy man. You're trying to get home to your family. I appreciate you coming on with me. But there's a couple people that have just a couple of questions, but well wishes. So if you got about 5 minutes, is that cool? I'd like to
absolutely
let you know how people feel about you. Willie Winky Williams says he learned how to play defense by watching you. Matt Taphorn says you are one of the best. Jerence Howard, Peoria High. He says my favorite point guard growing up. I know someone who's a big fan of yours, and that's Becky Erickson Jones. Whenever I do something on Peoria history, especially the 1989 team, she lights up and has so many great things to say about you and that 89 team. Willie also had a question. He said, "What made you become an athletic director? Who inspired you to go to law school?"
Well, in terms of working in intercollegiate athletics, I just wanted to work on a college campus. I didn't care if I worked in financial aid, admissions.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to be around young people. And I wanted to have an opportunity to do for a young person what somebody did for me. And so that was my motivation. I just wanted to work on a college campus. I didn't care where I worked. And so that's why I've always worked on college campuses, because I just enjoy being able to have an impact on young people in a positive way. And what motivated me to go to law school, to be really candid, when my dad was growing up, my dad worked at Caterpillar. And I remember him in the mirror practicing, some of the things he was going to say the next day at work. He represented some of the union employees there. And he was a foreman. And so he would talk to management about different things. And so my junior year, I was talking with Coach Knight, and he asked, "What do you want to do when you finish playing basketball?" And I didn't know what to say, but you could never tell Coach Knight, "I don't know." You had to
Really?
give an answer. You had to give an answer. And so I wasn't even thinking. I said, "I think I want to go to law school." And he remembered that. And so he encouraged me to go to law school. And it was a great decision. And so, but again, just people believing in you, people, I didn't know what law school was, right? I didn't understand the LSAT you had to take, or you had to write a
Mm-hmm.
personal statement. Well, he made sure that I learned what the LSAT was. And we had a meeting and we talked about these things. And so he took an interest in me in the middle of practice. He stopped practice and had a conversation. Actually, he didn't stop practice, but he and I had a conversation about law school in the middle of a practice. And so he felt that strongly about me as a
Right.
young person, and had that much interest in me to help me move forward. And so, like I said before, it's all about people, man. People have had a huge role in my life.
Well, as we go here, Chris, that game that I went to a couple years ago, you asked me. I got a good memory, and I always remember good things when someone asks me questions. You asked me, "Do I still get goosebumps when I go into Peoria to come home to visit? When I'm coming through Morton, through East Peoria, across the bridge, do I get goosebumps when I see that skyline coming around that corner?" And I said, "Absolutely." So, do you still get those goosebumps, or did you have those goosebumps when you accepted that Bradley job and you took your family coming around 74 through Morton, through East Peoria, and you see that skyline?
Man, boo. If I'll be real serious and candid here, I get goosebumps when I drive down to Bonnie's. I get goosebumps when I drive past my childhood home. I get goosebumps when I drive down University and I look at Quest High School that used to be Laux Elementary School.
Right.
I get goosebumps when I pass Agatushi's, right? Because I used to see that every time I went to school. I mean, multiple times, right, throughout the week, because you start having flashbacks,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
On my way to Carver Arena, off I-74, I'm driving down the interstate and I can see Peoria High, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, there's multiple times during my time in Peoria where you just start to reflect. And I'm just very grateful that the memories are positive and they're
Right.
inspiring, and they just inspire me to try to do more. And I know there's more to be done. I really do. And you know how it is today. It's just different,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
I talked about playing at Carver and playing at Proctor. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that people don't play down there anymore. It's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
And so there's so much to do. And so that's what energizes me. I had a chance to
I think I lost you, Chris.
but
Okay.
there's
Now you're
so many
back.
people to represent, and so I'm just grateful for the opportunity to do that.
Well, you know what, brother? I got much respect for you, and I'm proud of you. And you're from the neighborhoods I grew up in. You're from my high school, and now you're at Bradley University, the school that my father loved so much, and I loved as a child and still love to this day. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. You're a busy man, so it's great that you gave us time today to kick some incredible knowledge, man. This was so much fun for me, and I continue to learn from you. So I appreciate you. I wish you all the best, and God bless you, brother. Keep it up.
God bless you too, man. I appreciate you.
All right. Take care, my brother. We'll be in touch, and I'll see you soon.
Sounds great, man.
Maybe Agatushis. Who knows?
Go Braves.
All right. Hey, and Central. You see what I got here, man. You can't.
You representing, absolutely.
All right.
All the
bro.
best to you, man.
You too. All right, gang. That's a wrap. Man, that was awesome. It's great to see Chris, Peoria High grad, doing so well. And if you didn't learn anything from that, or if you're not inspired by that, I don't know what really inspires you. This guy is an amazing man. So proud of him. I keep saying that, but I am proud of him. And I don't know what other shows that we have coming up. I've done so many, but who knows? Maybe I'll put together something soon, but we're winding down, and it's been fun to learn the greater Peoria basketball history. I thought I knew a lot, but I learned a lot and made some new friends along the way. So I hope you enjoyed this evening, because I sure did. And you guys take care, be well, and I hope to see you soon. Peace, y'all, and love. Bye-bye.